Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. I'm Craig Garber, host of the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. What you may not know about me is that I'm also the author of the book, How to Make Maximum Money with Minimum Customers. And since March of 2000, I've been running a busy marketing consulting firm. During this time, I've helped over 300 clients in 108 different industries all over the world sell everything from $20 books to $5,000 seminar seats and everything in between. Now, if you own or operate a business, ask yourself the following marketing-related questions and be brutally honest with your answers. Do you have an email list of prospects and customers, but you have no idea what to say to them, how often to say it, or how to make money with this list? Is your business website consistently generating new leads and making sales? Is it making you any money at all? If not, do you know why? Is your advertising effective? Is it consistently making you money? And do you know how to use social media effectively to market your business? If any one of these questions are puzzling you, then you need to book a one-on-one marketing strategy session with me if your business qualifies. After this strategy session, you'll know how to speak to and make money with your email list, how to use your website to attract customers and clients who are ready to buy from you now, and how to sell your goods and services for top dollar and at much higher profit margins than your competition. Listen, stop hoping things will get better on their own. Hope is not a very good business strategy. Instead, book a marketing strategy session with me by going to everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing and find out if your business meets the 5 criteria you need to qualify for this service. Again, that's everyonelovesguitar.com/marketing. Thank you for listening, and now let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. I can't even stop laughing because we had such a fun conversation. I'm with the amazingly cool, interesting John Bollinger today. John's a musician, songwriter, and a writer in general. And he's the video dude for Premier Guitar. Everybody probably knows him that's listening to this. If you don't, you will by the end of the call, and you ought to if you don't now anyway. So let me read you a little bit about John's background. He's a Nashville guitar slinger, best known for his work in television, actually. He led the band for 6 seasons of NBC's hit program Nashville Star, as well as the 2009 through 2017 CMT Awards, CMT Larry the Cable Guy Christmas Special, the GAC Network's Next GAC Star, and several PBS specials, including The Outlaw Trail and Legends and Lyrics. I haven't said so many initials since I was arrested by the feds. What the hell? He's a consummate Nashville sideman, and he's accompanied Sheryl Crow, Brice, Miranda Lambert, Joe Walsh, Little Big Town, Jordan Sparks, Chris Allen, Bret Michaels from Poison, Sarah Evans, Leann Rimes, Chris Young, Tanya Tucker, Trace Adkins, Hank Williams Jr., Kenny Rogers, the Beach Boys, Alabama, Justin Hayward of the Moody Blues, incredible songwriter, and many others. He's a versatile multi-instrumentalist. He's recorded master sessions on both electric and acoustic guitars, as well as bass, pedal steel, and mandolin, and banjo too.
Yeah.
There you go. John's songs have been recorded by many artists, including Brice, which we'll talk about, Joe Walsh, Chrissie Hynde, and Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart. And his musical compositions can also be heard in several major motion pictures and over 200 television spots, and we'll talk about all this. He also writes a monthly column called Last Call for Premier Guitar Magazine about the life of a Nashville touring musician. And he's also Premier Guitar's online rig rundown host and demo dude. He's also a writer and a co-editor of A Guitar and a Pen, which is stories by country music's greatest songwriter, published by Center Street, which is a division of Hatchet Book Group. Shout out to them. And John's a proud father of his one-year-old little daughter, Betty. Did I say that right, Betty?
Yeah,
all right.
Betty.
And a big congratulations to you for that, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And one thing you don't know is he's the sweetest guy around. And you know, I don't know if you want people to know that, but I just blew your cover.
Hey, well, yeah, sure. Yeah. Gosh, you know, you're really making me sound pretty good, Craig. Thank you.
Yeah. You gave me $20. What the hell?
Yeah, totally worth it.
Hey, when did you start leading bands, and how did that come about? Because I think that's a pretty major thing. That's a big responsibility.
Well, it's funny, you know, I began when I moved to Nashville, you know, before I moved here, I played in other people's bands or had my own little bands and would book clubs and stuff. And then when I came to Nashville and began working, eventually, I guess he was probably on Nashville Star when I really became a leader. I knew I'd heard about that they were shooting this series. And so I kind of bullshitted it a little bit. I don't know if I can say bullshit on this, but
you could say everything. You could say fuck, shit. I mean, like this is.
I might come up a little later.
You can.
But I went to the producer and I got an appointment with him, and I put together kind of a reel of TV stuff I'd done in the past. And I played with a couple other artists and did some TV stuff. And so I put together a VCR, tape of different performances. And I talked to the producer of the show and said, when they do TV in Nashville, they always have a great band, but it's always older guys that are sitting down and playing, and they're not engaged. They're just reading.
You told him this?
Yeah, I told him.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I said, they're just reading the page. And I said, I'll put together a band of young guys that are into it, and we're going to memorize all the songs. We're not going to be reading it, and we're going to give you a really vibrant show. And so he said, he watched my stuff, and he said, okay, you know what, we'll try on this tour, this audition tour. So I got my friends together. I said, here's an opportunity. Let's get together. And they gave me a list of something like 80 covers. I can't remember. So I charted out 80 covers. I got together with these friends of mine, and we were playing in another guy's band at the time, another artist, and we got together and learned them all at a friend of mine's house, and then went out and did this audition tour around the country. Went to 5 or 6 different towns around the world, around the U.S. to audition all these people. And we auditioned hundreds of people. And what I would do, I'd meet with them in the morning. They tell me what they want with their arrangement. I'd play it on acoustic. Then I'd meet with the guys later on and said, here's what we're doing. It's like this. And we'd plow through it at night, do like 40 or 50 contestants that night. And at the end of that tour, and they filmed it all, on the tour they said, okay, yeah, you're right, man, you can do this. And so they hired me for the MD in the TV thing. And then we did that first season of Nashville Star. It really got the MD, the band leader thing going for me. But I really kind of bullshitted my way in at the beginning. I knew how it was done, but I was definitely making it up as I went. But the good thing about it, on that series, that was the first year that they had done it, and they didn't recognize that I was bullshitting it because they were making it up too. And strangely enough, we had a live band before American Idol did, and The Voice didn't even exist yet. And so Idol, after seeing us have a band, they ended up bringing a band into their thing.
Interesting.
And actually, the producer of The Voice, his name escapes me right now, was a guy from CMT that I worked with on the CMT. He was one of the producers on CMT, who I worked with the CMT Awards. And then he went to The Voice, saw that opportunity, and ended up becoming a huge show. So it's funny how there's this kind of connectivity where we're all kind of come up together and learn how together.
Yeah.
It just gets bigger and bigger.
I think there's a lot of takeaways there, and I just want to go over them because I want to make sure people are catching them, especially I know there's a lot of musicians listening to this because... Yeah,
I was a little rambly. Sorry, I'm on my second cup of coffee.
No, man, you're fine. This is all about rambling, and I'm not. Okay. Yeah, so first of all, the fact that you went in there and bullshit them was fantastic because here's the reality of life. You got to be aggressive to get stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like this. I at the point when I got that gig, I'd already been touring with major label artists for like 15 years. And I did have a background in it. Although I never had MD'd TV, I played enough music where I knew how it's done. I'd played enough TV to know how it's done. So I backed it up. So bullshitting only works if you can back it up.
Yeah. And, you know,
Yeah.
anybody in any business capacity will tell you, I'd rather have the guy that's confident with the right attitude than the guy who's technically can do it, but may not work or maybe a bit of a dick or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just a given. And anybody, and if you would have told them you're bullshitting in hindsight, they would have said, man, it took a lot of balls. We're glad we got you.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And in the end, I mean, it's spun into this career where now I've been MDing TV shows for like, I don't know, 15, 16 years, something like that. A long time now.
Yeah, that's great. Which is,
it all spins into that. But, you know, I mean, that's the thing about, you got to be confident, but you also have to be a realist.
Oh, you got to be able to deliver. If you can't deliver, you're done. No matter how confident you are or how genuine you're being, you know, if you're not, you can't do it. But the other thing I thought was really good, and it took a bit of a risk on your part. You came in there and said, look, I can be the MD, but I don't like what you're doing. And here's some more positive, constructive suggestions. You know, get rid of the guys that look like they are fogging a mirror and it's an effort for them.
Yeah. And really, and this was their first TV show, but there was a popular TV show at the time. There was on the TNN network, which I don't think exists anymore, but there was a regular show. There's actually always kind of a show where they'd have, you know, a house band and doing live music. And these older guys, I mean, they're great, but they're older dudes, and that's the way they work. They worked like a studio. They would just read the paper, which I get it, because, you know, that's what they want it to sound right. But, you know, my thing was, man, I think
it's engagement. You use the word engagement. That's what
absolutely
you want to sell something. You got to get people engaged.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny. It's kind of like this. If you're just reading the paper, it's never going to jump out at the audience like if you're in it and just going for it. Even if I'd rather see somebody jack it up, you know, totally, you know, than just give a safe performance, you know?
Yeah. And I think, but that, not only did it help them, but if you would have taken that job and had to deal with the old conventional way of doing it, this would have been a nightmare for you. I almost guarantee you it wouldn't have worked out because you would have been miserable.
Yeah. It just wouldn't have, the series wouldn't have been what it was. And it would have just been another, nobody wants a boring performance. There's no point, you know?
But I think the fact that you were honest about it, I think that, like I said, it took a lot of balls, but it's always, especially in your industry, this is all about creativity. You know, most people are pretty open-minded in this business, you know, so you just had the guts to speak up. So I think props to you, man.
And I was really lucky too, because the producer of the show, a guy named John Small, is just an amazing guy. He began life as he was Billy Joel's drummer. In fact, they were in a duo together.
Wait a minute. That was Liberty DeVito, no?
Well, no, but before that, a guy named John Small. And John Small, he did a band called the Hassles with Billy Joel, and then a two-piece called Attila. And then when Billy Joel did his own solo thing, he had been injured in a motorcycle accident, and then he moved to management, working with them in that capacity. And later, actually, John's wife Billy ended up marrying John's wife, or hook up, but they still stayed together and worked this whole time.
Wow, he's a better man than I am. I'll say that.
I'll just say John Small is such a musical guy. He's a film guy, but he had this really strong background in music at the highest level. So he recognized the importance of that. He got it. So that was really a good combination. That worked out really well. Had I said it to just a film guy, he may not have gotten the importance of what I was trying to pitch. But John's a brilliant musician as well as a film guy. So he had the vision. So
Well, the other thing that I want to point out is, and you kind of said it, glossed over it, but I charted out 80 songs.
Yeah.
And now that didn't take 5 minutes.
Oh man, no. And I'm a certified dyslexic. No kidding, man. So everything goes slow with me on that stuff because I write it, I check, I rewrite, it's slow going. To this day, I chart very slowly. And I've got friends that listen one time down and they're writing it down like they're taking dictation, and it's flawless. I'm not that guy. I take my guesses, I write it down, I check, I play again, and tweak. So
yeah, but I think that look at all that hard work is involved, and I just wanted to point that out. It's like there really is no free lunch in anything.
Absolutely. It was a lot of hard work, and it was all on spec.
Yeah.
I didn't have I wasn't getting jacked for this, man. I was just entirely on spec.
Right, but it worked.
But yeah, it did. It worked, and it
wasn't on spec from 2009 to 2017. I'm willing to bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just like pay a little price up front and get a little reward at the end.
So, yeah. That's it. You got to put yourself in.
And the other thing that's funny, and I don't know if this happens to you, I would bet though, because it happens to me a lot, and we're like the same age. Those guys that you said, a bunch of old guys, I would bet you many of those guys are our age or younger. And the problem is the energy level dictates your perception of old guys because you got.
Well, that's it, Greg.
Yeah.
I mean, I am now currently the age of the old guys.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because this shit happens to me all the time. I'll be like, oh my God, look at that guy. And my wife's like, he's your age. Or he's 5 years younger than you. That's so-and-so's husband. I'm like, holy shit, dude, you that's not me. She goes, no, that's not you. Don't worry. Or else you ever look at Facebook at the people you went to high school with?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Call my wife over and say, do I look that bad? She's like, no, you're okay. I'm like, thank God.
You look, my friend, for those people listening, we're looking at each other. And
we're almost in love here.
Yeah. Well, there's no almost about it, my friend.
That's right. Say it loud.
Yes, say it loud. It's real.
Oh my God. I haven't had this much fun in the first 15 minutes of an interview in a long time. All right.
Sure.
Let's, I want to talk about some of the gigs you did. And for each one of these guys, if you could maybe talk about how you got the gig, the work that you did, what the project entailed, and maybe share a story from your experience in working with them and, maybe any takeaways that you got out of it.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks. Joe Walsh.
Well, a lot of these, like the Joe Walsh thing, I've had the good fortune to be part of projects that include kind of a bunch of stars together, because again, I've done a lot of, because of the music director thing, I've done a lot of house band deals where you have multiple artists that come in together for a project, be it an album or whatever. So Joe Walsh and Chrissy Hine and Hart and some other people, they were all in this project I did with actually Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft. He was doing a project for Sony. Paul is a fascinating guy. He's a real music dude.
Well, he founded, didn't he found the rock and was something out in Seattle, the whole Hendrix thing? Yeah, he paid for that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he did. He single-handedly underwrote and he bought Hendrix's $1 million white Strat from Woodstock for that.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
As well as Clapton's Brownie for I think another $1 million. But Paul is a real music guy. I mean that's. I think that Microsoft was just his day job. He is, in fact, he's a musician with a really good day job. But he was doing this project for Sony, and it was actually tied into his the Experience music thing. And for that, we had Joe Walsh and Chrissy Hine and Hart, and then some other people that I can't think of right now. On the project, and Paul and I wrote a bunch of songs for it, and brought those guys in. We recorded with them and recorded the songs, and it was great. It was amazing. And Joe Walsh is the coolest dude you'll ever meet. He is a genuine. You know, when you meet some people and you actually just see the light of the universe emanating. Yeah. He's one of the guys. He really is. He's fun. He's in the moment. He's a brilliant player, and his singing, you forget. You know, the Eagles always had good harmonies, but from Hotel California, it just went to a higher level. You know, and that's Joe. Like, you hear the harmonies on Life's Been Good and everything that's going, the complexity of that track, which predates, you know, Hotel California. You can see the influence, how it just went up a notch.
Well, you go back and look at Barnstorm and all that era, and I mean, the guy was writing all the music, playing guitar, playing acoustic, playing like everything in there.
Oh, he's keyboard playing, man.
Brilliant guy.
I did another thing that he was on. I wasn't playing with him, but he was on it, and it was the house band it was a good house band. It was Kenny Aronoff and Don Was, and I was playing in it on some songs, but not on Joe's thing. But Joe, I can't remember who's playing keys, but Joe was actually, keyboard player was playing it. He said, no, man, it's actually like this.
Holy shit.
I'm like, God, wait a minute.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, because whoever they hired on keys, I mean, keys was his thing, and he was the top of his game. And Joe was like, what? Joe was like, well, no, this is how you do it. And
well, from a composition standpoint, he's literally been there, done it.
Oh, yeah.
In so many different situations. Yeah. So I'm actually not surprised at that at all.
Yeah, man, I saw him on this last tour. He was out with Tom Petty and opening for that Petty tour, and God, just slaying it, man.
Yeah.
And he's 70.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
70 years old and just playing, you know, as well as he ever has, maybe better, singing great, and just having fun, and you know, it's so inspiring.
Oh, he's awesome. I saw the Eagles the last time out. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was just hoping on a whim they'd play in the city. You know, he'd play in the city.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, and sure enough, they all broke out and kind of did their own thing, and Joe played that. It was like, you know, I remember sitting in the movie theater when the Warriors came out, and I heard that song for the first time. It was like, what? Who is doing this? I got, you know, and I knew Joe, but I didn't know that was him right away. And it was like,
so
just the opening chords to that. Like, yeah, I got goosebumps right now. Well, that may be from you though, John, but I do have goosebumps.
Yeah, sure. No, it's Joe.
So, what's a takeaway that you might have got from your experience in working with Joe? As a player and a musician yourself.
Okay, well here's an interesting bit. We tracked together all in a room, and literally just like looking at it. And Joe doesn't sit down when he plays. He's standing up and just going, just rocking it. And he was really encouraging to everybody. Like, I did something, and he'd go, yeah.
That's got to feel good when you get an attaboy from Joe Walsh, man.
God, you kidding? And then he laid down this solo. We tracked the thing very quickly, and he learned the song, sang it, did all the harmonies. Actually, he had some other people do a couple parts, but he told them their parts because he wanted a different blend in there. And then played this just killer solo, and he took like 3 passes, and we listened down, and all the passes were amazing. But he'd go through one and say, I'm not crazy about that. And so he put in, you know, he took like maybe 1 or 2 bits from other passes, but I think the first pass was probably it. But I guess the main takeaway was just the joy in it, you know, the absolute joy in music. He was just in it, man, you know?
That's really cool. And for a guy who's been doing it at 55 years, probably 58 years, whatever.
And he carried in his own gear. and here's what he do. He had
what was he playing? Because he plays a lot of different guitars.
Yeah, like he brought I remember he had a Tommy Bolin Les Paul. He had a double cutaway Les Paul and maybe another Les Paul. And in fact, he said 3 guitars, 2 too many. He just played one. And then he had, I think, a 3rd power amp. And then he had a couple stomp boxes that he just laid out, no pedal board or anything. And it wasn't much. I mean, it wasn't much. But I took a picture of it on my phone.
Yeah.
It's on somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, believe me, it wasn't the gear. It was just.
Well, no, yeah. And I just had this conversation with somebody like, if it was the gear, why doesn't everybody who owns a XYZ amp and an ABC, a guitar that costs, custom this or that sound like, Hendrix or whoever, or Joe Walsh for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sheryl Crow.
Oh, Sheryl Crow was great. This was another on the CMT Music Awards. One year I hired Kenny Greenberg to play guitar on it, and I played steel. And so that's a nice thing about that gig. I can kind of split it up. If I really want a guitar player, I'll switch to the steel, utility slot. And let me just preface this by saying I am a master of none. I play a lot of instruments. I'm a master of none of them, but I can do a convincing enough job to fool enough people. So,
but perception's reality, so you're okay.
Yeah. But I hired Kenny for that, and for the CMT Awards. And I think kind of the rule of the universe is, you get, you give. So Kenny hired me for this band where we were playing with, it might have been it was a deal for, I don't know, some big show for something. I can't, but it was Sheryl Crow and like the Commodores and a bunch of country artists, Luke Bryan, Sarah Evans, Little Big Town, I can't remember who, but a bunch of different acts. And some of them I'd played with before on Nashville Star and the award shows and stuff. I can't remember who all was there, but Sheryl Crow was one of them. And Sheryl Crow brought Peter and some other guys, but wanted steel on this song. So I just played steel with her. Awesome. And I think mandolin with her as well. So, and Kenny played acoustic on her thing. So, and she was great. And the thrill of that was like, afterwards she goes, wow, I would really like to steel. I'm thinking, well, then hire me full time, Sheryl.
I could play on the road just as well.
Yeah, you could have this every night.
Yeah, you could have a little John Bollinger every night, Sheryl.
Yeah. I love her work, man. Yeah. She is the coolest. She is the coolest. She's the coolest. I don't know what else to say. She is an amazing musician.
So inadvertently, that slot also put you in like a networking vector almost, man. That was great.
And that's really it. In the beginning, when you're starting out your career, you don't know anybody, and everybody kind of has to assume everybody's buying for these same slots. And the truth is, the younger guys aren't as good because they haven't done it as much. They don't really know what they're doing. But as you do it more, people are going to hear you and see you and then trust that you can do it. And you're going to meet more people. So you get. If you're working, you're going to get more work because people will see you and want what you do. But you have to be working first. So.
Yeah. There's also a presumption of, and people don't realize this, I think, unless you've done it, there's also a presumption of a certain amount of competency just because you're in a certain role.
Exactly. You wouldn't be there unless you could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I've done things like business-wise where I've been like nervous and I realize, well, no one's going to like question, why are you doing this? Are you justified? They're either going to hire you or they're not. And if they're going to hire you, they're not going to hire you and then ask you, why are you doing this? So it's like, it's just like a lot of shit up in our own heads that you kind of like freak yourself out about. So good for you, man. Justin Hayward.
Oh, it was another TV thing. And it was just Justin, and they wanted it was kind of a storyteller-esque type deal, talking about his songs that he'd written, and it was filmed in Nashville. And I got a call from the show's producer, and they hired me, and I suggested they bring in my wife at the time, Megan Mullins, who is a violinist, and so it's just Justin, her, and me, and we did that amazing catalog. And it's funny too, man, because like Nights in White Satin, again, I really you want to get it right. So I had to, when I'm writing out that chart, I had to count it out like a third grader. It's like 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
4.
it's like what, 12/8 or something?
Well, it's funny. The lick,
no,
the main,
it's 6.
the lick is like this. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 1. Da 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 da. So it comes in at this weird kind of unexpected rate. And I played it, and the first time I played it, he said, "You're one of the first people that have done that right."
That's awesome. Yeah, but because you studied the lick and you studied the timing and you listened and it's just amazing what a little effort does. And I don't know if it's just that the bar is so low because 90% of the people just don't do the work. I don't.
Well, I think what it is that it's a that I think a lot of times musicians, we think, oh, I got it. Like, I remember this, I know how it goes, but we don't like take the time to count it out like a third grader and really, really nail it. We musicians, guitar players in particular, we bluff our way through a lot, but there's some stuff you can't bluff. You just have to get it right. And so that's it. I mean, there's times, I don't know. Like my Lee Brice gig. It's the greatest gig. I've been with Lee for 4 years now, and Lee is one of the most free, open musicians you ever meet. I mean, he wants it to be alive and go wherever it goes. But Lee will also say, "Hey, man, that riff right there goes right here, and you're kind of in front of it." I mean, he'll call you. Yeah, in fact,
which is great because that's the only way you grow in an X, whatever, fill in the blank, whatever the hell it is you do.
Exactly. And that's it, man. I mean, I love that it's free, but I also love that there are parameters where, no, you can do it to everyone on this part, but this riff I need because I put it there. Lee is big on the production of his own albums. He's co-produced everything from the last couple albums. And some of them he's played like all the guitar on them and things like that. And he really knows what he wants. So he'll leave it free to do whatever you want. But when it's a signature, man, he wants it right there.
You got to tell him, look, Lee, do you want it ahead of the beat or behind the beat? Make up your mind.
Yeah. He will. He'll tell you exactly where. And when it's not, he goes, no, just right there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's really really inspiring and keeps it so much fun.
You had a lot of your songs published. And I was curious how you got them out to some of the artists who wound up recording them, or did you have a publishing company? Or
I really moved to Nashville to be a songwriter. There was a guy I knew, the only Nashville connection I had. I'm from Billings, Montana, and there was a guy there named Costas who was a Greek immigrant, moved to the States as a kid from Greece, and was poor, like shine shoes for a living and things like that as a little kid. He really was that guy, and was always writing these songs and stuff. And he was making, maybe like $10,000 a year playing clubs in Montana. But somebody ended up recording his songs on a vanity project that they were trying to pitch themselves as an artist. And they got it to, I think they got it to maybe MCA, and MCA said, "Well, I'm not into the act, but these songs are great." And says, "Well, a friend of mine wrote that, Costas." And so I think it was Tony Brown, called up Costas and said, "Hey, you have any more of these songs?" He said, "Yeah, I got songs." So he sent down like 60 songs that he
Holy crap.
recorded. And in that were all of these later ended up being huge hits. So Costas went from making about, $11,000 a year to $1 million.
For him. That's a great story.
Yeah. And I mean, the true American success story, he did it entirely on his talent. And it would have never happened had he not been writing and recording all the time. He had no plan. He just was writing and recording music because that's what you do. Anyway, I had seen this happen to Costas, and I was a young guy with a wife and a kid and no prospects. I thought, well, hell, let's do this. So I wrote a bunch of songs, moved down to Nashville, and got a publishing deal.
Through Costas?
Yeah, actually, Costas did introduce me to my first publisher, and a guy named Bob Kirsch, who's formerly with Polygram, and they started running this company for Fitzgerald and Hartley, kind of a big management company. Manages Vince Gill and a bunch of other people. And I was with them for about 4 years. Got a couple little cuts through there, not much.
Was that back in the day? I didn't mean to cut you off, but was that back in the day where you can get enough money from the publishing as long as you're writing it, like at least eat and pay the rent?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I was getting $200 a week, but I could live on that back then.
Yeah.
I had a pretty, feed a family of 3 on that. It was not a.
You probably hustled and played gigs at night or something. Yeah.
You do whatever you got to do.
Right.
But yeah, kind of survived on that. Got a couple little cuts, and then I moved to, after I think 3 or 4 years with those guys, I went to another publishing company. I finally thought it's not going to happen here, so I asked out of my deal and joined another publishing company and did a few years there and got a couple little things. But it's really, I guess some people have it happen through their publishers, but it's never been my experience. I think you just have to just write and work and be around good people and slug away. I don't know.
And how did your songs get to any of these people?
Well,
if it wasn't from the publishing company,
like some of the deals, like sometimes they were co-writes with people. Like my current cut that I'm really excited about, the song "I Don't Smoke" that I wrote
with Lee Brice.
With Lee Brice. I wrote in my column for Premier Guitar Last Call. I just wrote about, like, it's called How Songs Happen, and it describes how this happened. We wrote this thing on the road like 3 years ago, something like that. And the weird process where it sifts its way through this huge pile of songs and eventually makes its way onto an album. So, writing with the right people really helps. Other than that, I pitch songs a lot. Like, for instance, I was playing this theater gig in Canada, and one of the girls, there was a singer there. She has this great Western swing band called the Western Swing Authority in Canada.
You were up there with Lee?
No, I was up there this was a few years ago before Lee. I was just up there, just got a call for a gig. Okay. Anyway, she's talking about her band. I said, "Hey, I got some songs." I gave her a bunch of songs, and they ended up cutting one for their next album, And number one, you got to be prepared. You have to have your stuff ready. And then when you see an opportunity, they were looking for swing songs, and I'd written swing songs. So I pitched it there. I had a song I had in the movie. Guy I knew in high school had played in a band with his brother. He was producing this film, and so I sent him a cassette of some songs, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Give me a good version of this, and I'll put it in the film." And I did, and it was a movie called Joyride, with the guy from Fast and Furious, the guy that
Vin Diesel. Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
Handsome guy. Anyway.
Paul. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, that guy. So that's how I got that. I mean, literally just sent out a cassette. I had another movie song in a Ramblin' film, I think it's Spielberg's company, where I got a cut on actually Costas. Costas did a songwriter album for Capitol, and the producer of that album was a music director on this movie, this for Spielberg's company. They needed some country songs. They chose this one that I'd written with Costas on his record. So you never know. You plant a lot of seed.
Well, that's what you got to do. And, you didn't sit back and wait for the guy to say, hey, John, can you send me a cassette of your songs? You said, no, fuck it. Let me just go send this to him. Say, hey, I got these songs. If you're interested, let me know.
Exactly.
And you got to push, man.
Yeah. And Craig, the amount of rejection for these, the ratio is 10,000 to 1.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But the thing is, you can't think about that, because if you think about that, you'll never do anything. I have this little thing on my wall here. There's only 3 reasons you will not be successful. You don't try new things. You don't learn from what you try, or you give up. So, you get a rejection. I listened to an interview with Troy Aikman, the quarterback, one time, and he said, what's the best thing a quarterback can have? He said, a short memory. And it's true in business. I've been working for myself for 20 years. I can't tell you. If I got hundreds or millions of rejections, it's next. It's not about me. It's about, is the timing right? Am I serving a function? Can you help somebody? But if you do nothing, that's a guarantee that nothing will happen. Yeah,
absolutely. You have to just plow on, and I guess, just try and enjoy the ride.
Well, and the other thing is too, I don't know how it is in music, but I know in business, you don't need 10 out of 10 things to make it work financially. If you do 10 projects and 2 of them hit, you're going to do pretty well.
Yeah. And again, in music, I really moved to town to be a songwriter, but my hit ratio is, it will hit rate. I've never had a hit, but I've had cuts, but it's not anything I could live on. So, guitar playing kind of took over. And then from there, guitar playing led to gigs in, pedal steel or mandolin or whatever.
You led the band for 8 years.
Yeah. And exactly. That's
and God knows how many contacts you made. The spider web of, income and opportunity that came from that was probably really thick and deep.
Yeah, and as I said, like the thing with Kenny, you hire people and then they hire you, and you pass it back and forth. You try and those people that are helping you.
And if it wouldn't have been Kenny, it would have been someone else. Karmically, that just seems to sort of, as long as you're, having integrity about it and not just trying to manipulate shit. It seems like the universe kind of works a lot of time if you're in the right place.
Yeah, it's funny too. There was a guy I'd hired for a bunch of stuff, and he'd never hired me for anything. He's working all the time. So finally I just quit hiring him. And he called me up and was like, hey man, I'm wondering why you didn't put me on this TV show. I said, because you've never hired me. He goes, oh, okay.
I don't get that. I don't really get that.
Well, it is. It's, some people don't, but it's maybe they don't think, I don't know, maybe they don't think they have to, but
it's just bad. I don't know. It's like someone opening the door for you in a restaurant, or, you drop your wallet and someone says, hey, is this yours? You feel like, man, I want to help that person because this random act of kindness was.
Oh man. And I tell you, when I can think about times in my life, when I was just struggling so hard and getting a call for a gig and just crying in gratitude after I'd hung up the phone.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Oh God.
Nobody wants to hear it, man. You know what? You just allowed me to pay my rent that was due yesterday. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. Yeah. That's bad positioning.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's the best thing you can do for a musician is hire him. It's the sweetest gift in the world because you're getting paid to do what you do.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. I interviewed Greg Koch from Wildwood a while back. And
what an amazing musician that dude is.
Yeah, man. Talk about a guy who's got a lot of energy.
Oh God.
And he's younger than both of us.
Well, he is a genius guitar player.
Great guitar player.
God, blows my mind, man.
But I bring him up because, I asked him, I said, it was interesting. He doesn't prepare for any of his reviews. He just gets up and he, gets the vibe and, he doesn't have time prepared. They'll do something like 40 in a week or something. I mean, just an outrageous number.
Yeah, sure.
So he's just like right there on the spot. So I was curious, when you do your reviews, do you have to prepare, or is it like, do you do a lot of prep work?
Well, if it's a guitar or an amp, no, I just come in and play, but if it's a pedal or something complex, then I've got to figure out what it does. And I'm not a particularly technical guy. So like right now, I've got some really complex, I don't know what it is, some complex pedal that has all these weird tones in it. And I'm just trying to figure out what it does, because I want to, whatever that piece of gear is, this is somebody's baby. They love it. They put the time into it. I want to make it sound as good as possible. And unless I know what it does or know how to actually,
well, you gotta showcase it.
I gotta show it. So and you can't sound good on it if you can't highlight what it's doing unless you know what it does. So there's a learning curve on the pedal thing is tough, particularly, difficult pedals. An overdrive, okay, I get it, clean and dirty. Sure. But other stuff, it gets more complex.
It's interesting. I don't play professionally; I just play for fun. But I like simple too. So like, if someone says, "Hey, I just got a new pedal. Do you want to? You should check it out." I'm like, "Well, how many knobs does it have?" And if it's more than like 3 at most, I'm like, "No, I don't want to deal with it." I don't have time. I play as a hobby. I don't have time. I mean, I want to just play. I don't have time enough. I don't want to sit there having to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. Talk about your book, A Guitar and a Pen. Did you enjoy writing that?
Yeah, it was a while back. I kind of always maintained that country songwriters particularly are just these amazing short story writers. You look at like the song El Paso by Marty Robbins. It's like a movie. It's like a movie in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It's like watching a whole movie. And like these Johnny Cash songs and Chris Christopherson songs, they are like movies. So my idea was to find short stories by songwriters, and I pitched it at a friend of mine named Robert Hicks, who had just had a big hit book called The Widow of the South. And Hicks said, yeah, that's a good idea. So he brought in a buddy of his, and we pitched it he pitched it at his publisher, and they picked it up. And I wrote a short story for it, and then we compiled short stories by like Chris Christopherson and Charlie Daniels and all these different songwriters. And it really was a cool project. And the book is still available. You can get it on Amazon or wherever you buy books, called Guitar and a Pen. And it was a really fun project, fun to do.
Cool. Did you like writing the book?
Yeah. What I did, I wrote one of the short stories. Then I went out and found a bunch of the short stories and then wrote some other parts of it, introductions and whatever. So, I had my part in it.
Cool. You're a kind of a rare breed for many reasons, but in that you've experienced success as a performer, a songwriter, in licensing, writing, and being an online celebrity. And I was curious if there's one of these that you like more. And I know you're kind of blushing, and I'm not saying, yeah. Well, I mean, like, listen, to everything that everybody does, there's a work component and there's a fun component. The work component generally sucks, and the fun component is fun, Yeah. So I was just, which one of these is like, the most like that, you're
like
when you got
joy.
Yeah. Well, when you have to do it, it's never like, when is it due? Okay. You're looking at the clock.
Well, it's funny, man. I mean, first of all, I never really felt like much of a success, but then when you were reading my little introduction, I thought, you know what, actually, that does sound pretty. Yeah, it's funny. You do this long enough, and you work hard and try and do good work. Eventually, it does actually turn into what sounds kind of like an impressive career. Let me preface this by saying it's not. It's just a bunch of stuff I've done. It's just, but
no, but most of the people that I'm speaking with, not most, many of them, they're like, holy shit. That actually sounds like, a lot more impressive than I think I am, kind of thing. So I totally get that.
I guess, when it comes down to as far as just the fun, oh man, playing music live is the most fun. I mean, I absolutely love it. It is my joy. Because it's the one time you're in the moment. You're not thinking about anything but the note, hitting that note and making it sing. That's it. That's the joy. So yeah, that is my thing. Now, like playing like live on TV, there's a little more pressure there. It's hard you get in your head and you're thinking, no, I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to play it just like this. You're thinking about time and all this stuff, but just playing live in front of an audience is the best, man. In fact, I play clubs all the time. Like last night, I played this weekly thing at Soulshine Pizza in Nashville, and it is just throwing down, just playing a lot of guitar. It's so much fun. I'll have friends come up and jam. It is just the joy of playing. Love it.
It's interesting you said about being in the moment. I just started playing guitar a couple of years ago. I played saxophone as a kid, and I was a pretty good musician. I actually played at Carnegie Hall, but
cool.
I started playing 2 years ago, and the best thing about it is, and I think I was ready for this to happen at this time in my life, is what you just said. You're in the moment, because when you're playing, you can't think about some bullshit that happened earlier the day or, a meeting you have next Thursday. And for me, that was wonderful. And I've been able to take that into like every area of my life, and all because I was like, man, I really like this in the moment stuff. And it's really been very like emotionally liberating and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's therapy. I mean, that's it. We can lose weeks and feel like days because we're never really present. It just slips by. So if you have a moment where you can just be right there and experience it, and that's what live music is. I think that's why people come to shows.
Yeah.
That's why it's worth the hassle of like buying the ticket, which is expensive, and dealing with parking and crowds and all that shit, because you want to have a moment, Yeah.
I mean, but everything, I mean, that's nothing. If your coping skills are such that that's like stressing you out, man, you have other issues. But then, no, I mean, seriously, if like, oh my God, I have to find a spot. I mean, you should stay home all the time. Don't, God forbid you get a flat tire on the way. You're totally fucked. You grew up in Billings, Montana. What was your childhood like?
Oh, I had a great childhood. Great, really had loving, nurturing parents, very encouraging, had a big family, 6 kids.
Holy crap. Wow.
Yeah. Great, man. It was great. And those were the days of, free range parenting and it was great childhood. Although I couldn't wait to leave Montana because I wanted to see what was out there, as you do. You just want to see, don't want to, and really, back when I lived there, it was before the internet. So you didn't feel like the world was coming to you in your living room.
Sure.
It kind of encouraged me to get out and see it.
I think you're actually I've been to Montana, but I think you're actually the first person I've met from Montana.
Yeah, it's a very thinly populated state. So,
yeah.
Not a lot of us.
Do any of your other 5 siblings get into music?
No, not really. I think they all had to take music lessons. There was a, back then they actually had a music program in school, which is great, which it's sad that there's so many being dumped right now because there's all this evidence that testing across the board goes way up when you're exposed to music. But yeah, I started playing violin in 4th grade through the public school system, and it just kind of went from there. So, but my grandmother actually was a professional musician. She played almost in an all women's band, kind of like Some Like It Hot, the Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis movie. So she was a musician. She was really a fun person too. So
and that must have been for her day. That was pretty ballsy. Yeah, that was very good for her. As far as tuition, I think everybody, no matter what we're doing, we all pay tuition, and you've been at this for a while. I was wondering if you'd be kind enough to maybe share 1 or 2 mistakes that you might have made along your journey, and what were the lessons you learned from those mistakes?
Well, one big mistake I made when I was first moved to Nashville to be a songwriter, there was like a few opportunities. I didn't realize how it works, how the system works with, I thought, hey, if you write a good song, that's all you need. The song is but I didn't realize, man, if you give up a little publishing to this guy, you might be able to get something going on. And I turned down some deals like that in the beginning because I didn't understand the way the game works.
Because you were thinking it's like, holy shit, this guy is jacking my stuff.
Yeah. I thought
which he was, but that's just how it worked.
And the truth is,
in the beginning,
the truth is, for the most part, I think it is true that you don't that most cuts happen where people aren't doing stuff like that. But when you're trying to get your start, it does come into play. And I didn't play the game because I didn't understand the game. So I probably would have done that differently. Other than that, I think, and I probably would have practiced more.
Really?
It sounds stupid. I would have, because the truth is, I got better by putting in more time, and I didn't. I think I would have. I didn't even know how. It's like I've got this new daughter, and I think she's going to be such a better musician than me because I know how to do it, and I can tell her how. I was just making this stuff. I was trying to figure it out, man. So I would have gotten on playing with a metronome way earlier, like on the 2 and 4, keeping that click on the 2 and 4, because then you're feeling the beat more. That did a lot to help me, and I would have kind of understood how to play the game as far as some of the publishing and things like that. Interesting.
So if you had to go back and give advice to your younger self,
I'd say, okay, put a metronome on 2 and 4 and play with that. Just put in, whenever you're playing, play with that. Keep that going. And I would say, hey, look, man, if that dude wants a chunk of the song, but he's going to cut it, do it.
Because it would have just expedited the process.
Yeah, because you've got 100% of nothing right now. So
yeah, that's a hard thing to do though, because it's like it feels very predatory.
Well, and it is,
and it's
But look at this, like Willie Nelson, famously sold "Crazy" for like $50, and it's a multi-million-dollar song. He sold for $50, but had he not sold it, he wouldn't have been known as the guy that wrote "Crazy."
Yeah.
It may have never done anything. The song might, if he didn't cut it, it may have never become a hit, and he wouldn't have been a guy that wrote this hit song, so the people wouldn't have cut his other songs. So although he gave it away, it primed the pump, and it was an amazing self-promotion tool.
Yeah. I think that's hard to do as a young person without any guidance. Like if you had somebody sitting there saying, hey, listen, this totally sucks, but if you do this once or twice, you might open some doors that will blow the shit out of whatever you're giving up away.
On the other hand, I did have people saying, man, don't give up your publishing. That's bullshit. Don't do it. Don't do it. And the fact is, there are no right or wrong answers because like the songs I held on to didn't end up doing anything. So they were worthless. However, they could have been cut by somebody else. And they could have been worth a lot of money. I would have been kicking myself, So I don't know. It's you can't second guess. I mean, you can't guess the stock market. You can't guess what's going to happen. If people had this thing figured out, there'd be a lot more.
Oh yeah.
People getting rich on it.
Let's talk gear for just a few minutes. First question I want to ask you before that, you play so much and you get put in front of so much gear because of the review stuff. Are you to some extent like, the person who works in the bakery that like, the last thing I want is to look at like a chocolate covered eclair because.
Oh no, man. I love guitars, man. I got them. I mean, they're scattered around my house, like everywhere. And I pick them up all the time and I love them. I never get over it. I have more than I'll ever need. But like I just bought my daughter this ridiculously great guitar and spent a lot of money I didn't even have on it because it was important to me, It's funny what I did. I got her a PRS.
She's one, right?
Yeah, she turns one this month. I got her a PRS McCarty single cut, but I got Paul to sign it to her, to Betty Bollinger with her birth date on it. And they put Betty on the truss rod.
Ah, very cool.
So, and it was expensive, man. It was expensive. They cut me a break on it, but it was still expensive. But when I ordered it, I was feeling prosperous because I just did a TV thing on the side and had a nice little paycheck, and great. But it took like 8 months to build. So when they just got hold of me saying, "Okay, it's ready," it's like, oh gosh, I have no money. Well, this credit card should be good. So,
yeah. What's your like right now your go-to guitar, and like what other two would round out your top three?
I'll tell you what, I've been playing. I've got this 55 Strat that just it's not the best playing guitar I have. It's not even the best sounding guitar I have, but for some reason, like I played at this club date last night. It's a $50 club date, and I'm playing this 55 Strat, which I don't know what it's worth, but it's worth a lot. So,
do you have it there in the room?
Let me see. Yeah, it's in this gig bag, right?
Let me describe it.
Yeah.
Very cool gig bag. Oh, it's a Sunburst. Yeah, it looks great. It looks like Doyle Bramall's guitar, but not as beat up.
His is 64, so his is 9 years younger than this one.
Wow, that looks very coolly seasoned. I love the neck.
Yeah, it's great. But for whatever reason, I've really been into that guitar lately. And
are those the original pickups in there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. How'd you get that? Is there any cool story about how you got that?
Oh, just spent a lot of money.
You didn't like.
I mean, I got it. I got it for considerably less than what it's worth, and they just appreciate so much. But I just, I've been at this a long time, so I. 100% of my wealth is in guitars, and my house. I've got a house and I've got some guitars. Then I've got like a '94 Mercury Grand Marquis that I drive. So
as your regular day car.
That's my car. So guitars are a big deal for me. And there's
as they should be.
I've got this old 54 Gold Top that I'm really crazy about. I play that a lot. I've got this.
What kind of pickups in that?
P90s. Yeah, P90s. It's great.
Oh wow, it's an original 54 Gold Top.
Yeah. And
holy shit! I can't imagine what that goes for. Man. What's that?
Yeah, I gig with that thing all the time too.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I've got this PRS that they made for me a few years ago that. God, man, it just sounds so good and feels so good. It's great. Love that. So, I don't know. I've got a bunch of guitars. I switch them up, but those are the ones that kind of doing it for me lately.
Very cool, man. Are there any influences that you have that people would be surprised to hear?
Oh, I don't don't know him. I like Mark Knopfler was a huge influence.
Yeah.
Really loved him.
Beautiful player.
Oh yeah, I think what I got from him is that he tends to me, it seems like his playing follows chords more than scales, if that makes sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of got me thinking in those terms, you know? Whereas a lot of players, when I was growing up, all these guys are learning scales and stuff, which is great, but it was never my bag. And I think because of listening to Mark Knopfler, I thought more in terms of how chords are constructed and building your solos and fills and everything, kind of thinking more, not in a line like that, but in intervals, if that makes sense.
Do you know Paul Nelson by any chance?
Name sounds familiar, but
He's
can't.
Johnny Winter's guitarist.
Oh, okay.
And
I mean, I know his work. But.
Yeah. He just came out with an album. I interviewed him. It's a tremendous album. But he's one of the smartest. I mean, he went to Berkeley, but his work ethic and learning and studying certain things is just. And he was talking about Knopfler when I interviewed him recently, and he was really blew me away. I mean, he's really, you know, like you did the 80 charts. He's that kind of guy. You know, he's just bringing it, you know, intellectually to what he can to max out on the guitar all the time. It's just interesting guy to talk to. If I asked you to pick your 3 favorite albums, just not in order or anything, but randomly, what would come to mind?
Abbey Road. Yeah, Abbey Road for sure. Maybe that first Dire Straits album.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know, man. I don't know. That third slot's hard. I have to come back on that one. But those Abbey Road is absolutely my favorite album. Yeah, that's the one.
Well, side 2 of that is just about perfect.
Oh yeah, side 2 is that's the one. Man.
I mean, can you get anything like, you know, more perfect than that? I mean, there are other albums that are on that genre, but I mean, that's a pretty perfect side of an album. Yeah,
it really is. That's huge. And I'm really glad I grew up listening to things like that because, you know, it's just so musical, man. I mean, you know, it's got everything.
Are you outgoing or shy by nature?
Oh, I'm pretty outgoing. You know, I am. I love people and love all that. Although when I'm home, when I'm not on tour and I'm not a gig, man, I'm like home.
You're not leaving the house, yeah.
No. Like Amy and Betty and I just hang out. You know, I just hang out, or I'll sit in a room with a guitar for hours. You know, I do anything.
Yeah, I hear that from loads of guys that are on the road because for the similar reason, it's like you want to just do nothing. You don't want to. Yeah. You don't. And your job is like you're on the spot a lot, which is not pressure, but it's just a responsibility, and it's nice to not have a responsibility that you have all the time. I totally get that. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you'd be doing instead? Probably something you never had to consider.
Oh, geez, man. If I wasn't doing this, I don't know what I'd be doing, but it would probably involve a name tag, maybe a deep fryer.
Would you like a lid with that shake?
Yeah. I don't know what I would be doing. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. I have such a limited skill set. I don't know what I would do.
Tell me something about yourself people will be either surprised to hear or find a little odd.
Well, like I said earlier, I am a dyslexic, honest to God, tested dyslexic, which does not help in reading music.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was a kid playing violin, it really jacked with me. I think it's good for my ear because I had to really listen, but I really had trouble reading, particularly music, as a kid. So that's it. Also, I'm colorblind, so I've got that too. And like, which makes it the weird thing in music is like when things like on this pedal right here, the writing is in red, and when it's red against certain background, I can't see it. And sometimes like light, like control lights, sometimes like LEDs or whatever, if they are in red and there's a certain background, I just don't see them.
Interesting. So how do you know, like, not being funny, but how did you know, like, you're buying a gold top, you're buying a sunburst Strat?
Well, no, that stuff I see, but it's certain colors.
Okay.
Like, and it's about the context. In fact,
Gotcha.
the way I found out about it, I was in college and in psychology class, and they had this in the textbook. There's this circle full of all these little circles, and it said a colorblind person would be unable to see the numbers in this the number patterns in this circle. And I thought, my book is defected. They didn't put the numbers.
Oh, you didn't think, oh, well, I'm colorblind. Yeah. Because you didn't know. Right. How would you know?
Next way, they're like, see this? Yours like this? I said, what are you talking about? So, yeah, it's true. But you don't notice what you don't see, So like there will be warnings written in red that I literally do not see, depending on the background, So there's a.
What's your? Do you have a non-musical superpower?
Man, no. I don't even have any music. I don't even have any musical superpowers. But no, nothing. No, I'm pretty unremarkable, to tell you the truth.
Well, I don't believe that. You probably just didn't think of it, but we'll revisit that.
Yeah.
Biggest business or personal win?
Well, personal win, definitely my kids. I'm lucky enough to be a father twice. That's fabulous. Business win, I actually bought Bitcoins.
Good for you.
4 years ago. Yeah. So that has been a crazy ride.
Awesome. What prompted you to do that?
I think that our world is changing. I think that the idea of a currency that's tied solely to a country or a bank is antiquated. And there are so many countries around the world with very unpredictable currency, and everything is being purchased online anyway. It's all going that way. When I lived in Honduras for a while as a kid, and people would, at the time, a lempira, which is the currency of Honduras, would exchange 2 for 1 for $1. But on the black market, you could get 3 lempiras for $1 because there were things that people could only buy with dollars.
Which made the lempira worth more.
Yeah. Or made the dollar worth.
Sorry, made the dollar worth more. Yeah, sorry.
And you couldn't. So seeing that as a kid, it made me think, well, hell, why wouldn't all those people in those countries want to have a currency that is kind of the international standard?
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's out of the box thinking, man. That's very clever.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how clever it is, but it did actually pay off. So I've it's been interesting. I didn't buy that much of it, but I bought, because I didn't have much, but I bought like $1,000 worth, and it's actually doing well financially. Of course, I'm not going to sell it because I think if it continues like it will actually be a fortune for when my daughter, in the future.
Good.
If I did cash out, I have to pay taxes on it, and I'd lose half of it right there. So what's the point? So I'll just let it ride, and who knows? Maybe there's a possibility that the government will shut it down tomorrow. I don't know.
And if they do, it's $1,000. Who cares?
Yeah, and it's just fun to gamble.
Right. Good for you, man. I hope it kicks ass. Awesome.
Yeah.
2 more questions, man. Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
No, I really don't. I do yoga a lot. I like yoga. I kind of hate yoga. I kind of love yoga. It hurts, but it makes me feel better.
Dude, here's a funny exchange I had with another guitar player this morning. This is hysterical. He goes, he's going to be coming by town, and I said, hey, great. So we'll hang out. We'll have lunch or a cigar or coffee or what you want. I said, we could work out. I said, you look pretty fit. And he goes, he said, yeah, I work out. He goes, we could do yoga. I said, no, I don't think so. And he goes, I've never felt pain like I have at time with yoga. And I said, yes, that's why I said no. I know I don't need that. I'm too old. I don't want that stress.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man. I mean, I do yoga stretches every day. I really jacked up my back when I was a kid, my neck, I had a couple discs removed from my neck. And so it kind of forced me to get into that, but I'm glad I have, because now I've although my body hurts a lot, that's part of the deal.
That's what happens when you work out, man. That's a good thing.
If I wasn't working out, it would be, I would be just crippled up. So yeah. So got to stay flexible.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Last question. How have you changed the most in the last 10 years, personality wise?
I think that I realize how little things that used to worry me are, how little they matter, things that used to really concern me. And I've realized that we're only here for a minute, so let's make the most of it. I used to worry about the future and the past, and now, man, I just want to be right here. Good,
man. I appreciate that. I feel the same way, and I appreciate your time. I want to tell people where they can find you and send you money.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, Premier Guitar, find me there. Check out my column, Last Call. Check out my lesson series, What Bollinger Plays.
And Bollinger is Bohlinger.
Yeah, it's a cool lesson series, because I'm not teaching you licks, because licks aren't important. What is important is kind of seeing the thought behind it, so you can build on that, and make it your own thing. So they're little bite-sized lessons that are a lot of fun. And my column's always kind of fun. And then, check the review demos. If you're in Nashville, come to Soul Shine on Wednesday. Check that out.
Soul Shine Pizza.
Soul Shine Pizza. And I'm on tour with Brice. See Lee whenever, wherever he plays. And buy his new record. And that way I'll get like 2 cents. So
I Don't Smoke by Brice and John Bollinger.
I Don't Smoke is the song that Lee and I wrote on that with some buddies of ours. So get that. And the album is just titled Brice, I think. So, yeah.
Oh, so awesome. And for everybody wondering, his hair is 100% real.
Yeah. It's grown out of my head.
It's totally real. And it does have a life of its own, but it is 100% real.
It does. It's pretty. It's pretty crazy and untamable for whatever reason. Yeah.
It's perfect as far as I'm concerned. from this vantage point.
It's funny. My mother, Italian mother, ton of hair, very hairy, very hairy. And my daughter Betty, who's named after my mother, she is like a little monkey. She has so much hair.
Well, congratulations on her again, man. I'm happy for you. And I really appreciate your time. And
yeah, man, glad we did it. This is great. Thanks for having me.
Glad we got to connect, man. Everybody, listen, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks again to John Bollinger for spending time with us. Check him out online. Premier Guitar on YouTube. Go to his What Bollinger Plays. It's Bohlinger. And go to his column, which is called Last Call, also on Premier Guitar. His book online on Amazon and wherever else excellent books are sold, called A Guitar and a Pen. And you can check out the single that John co-wrote with Brice called I Don't Smoke. I don't know what that song's about, but check it out. And if you're in Nashville, go to Soul Shine Pizza on Wednesday night, where you'll see John Bollinger and what is it? The tangos? I wrote it down and I can't.
Twango.
The twangos. Yeah, I wrote it down and I can't even read my own writing anymore. It's pathetic.
Well,
John Huh?
It's not really a word. That's what. That's what
no,
it is.
But I can't even read it. It doesn't even look like. It looks like something that begins with a Z. What the hell? John Bollinger and Twangos and the 6-string seance. And if you could say that fast 3 times in a row, you get a free slice of pizza.
Yeah,
man, I appreciate your help. You're an awesome guy. I'm glad we got to connect. And everybody, go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes, along with some cool stuff to guitar players. Now, be nice. Go play your guitar. Don't worry, and have some fun. Till next time, peace and love. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.